The New York streets were a relentless collision of sound. Yellow taxis honked in jagged, unpredictable rhythms. Construction drills bit into concrete, sending vibrations through the soles of Jack's boots. He walked with his head down, his mind a filing cabinet of syntax and vocabulary. He cataloged the world in rigid, clinical terms, stripping away the nuance of human interaction until only the mechanics remained. He turned the corner and pushed open the heavy glass door of a quiet cafe. The bell chimed, a sharp, singular note that cut through the city roar. He stepped inside. The air here was still, smelling of roasted beans and damp paper. He approached the counter, his hands shoved deep into his pockets. Anna stood behind the wood, wiping a ceramic mug. She looked up. Her eyes caught his, and she offered a smile that did not follow any social script he had ever memorized. It was a direct, unscripted opening. "One coffee," he stated, his voice flat, but his gaze remained fixed on her. The next day, the bell chimed again. Jack stood at the counter, his order identical to the first, but he did not turn to leave. He lingered, his notebook open, a pen hovering over the page. Anna leaned forward, her hands moving in arcs and sharp angles, painting shapes in the air to explain a concept that his textbooks had failed to define. Jack stumbled. He tried to force the words into a perfect, clinical structure, but his face reddened as he misused a tense. He felt the familiar panic of a system error, but Anna only leaned in closer. She laughed, a low, genuine sound that made her shoulders shake. It was not a correction. It was an invitation. He began to teach her the intricacies of English grammar, the rigid rules of syntax, while she taught him the weight of a pause. The corner booth became their territory. They spent hours there, the silence between them thickening, no longer empty, but heavy with meaning. He watched her hands move, tracing the air, and realized that her gestures carried more information than any dictionary he had ever memorized. One afternoon, the light hit the notebook page at a sharp angle. Jack looked down at his own handwriting. The sentences were no longer clinical or stiff. He had stopped cataloging the world in definitions and started mapping it in textures. He wrote about the way the morning light pooled on the floor, the warmth of the ceramic mug, and the specific, rhythmic way a person could alter the atmosphere. He paused, his pen hovering over the paper. He tried to find the precise word for the sensation in his chest, but the dictionary felt hollow. He looked up, his brow furrowed in genuine confusion, and gestured toward the complex text he had been studying. "You do not understand everything," he said. Anna did not laugh. She did not correct his grammar. She reached across the small table, her fingers moving with deliberate slowness, until they brushed the back of his hand. The contact was solid, grounding, and immediate. She leaned in, her eyes steady and clear. "But I understand you," she said softly. He felt the shift deep in his own internal architecture. He looked at her hand on his, then back to her eyes, and for the first time, he did not reach for a word. The rhythm broke on a Tuesday. The bell over the door did not chime with its usual welcoming tone. It sounded sharp, final. Jack looked up from his notebook, his pen still resting on the page. Anna stood by the entrance. She was not leaning against the counter or moving with her usual fluid grace. She stood still, her hands clasped together, her posture rigid. "I have to go back," she said. The sentence was simple, yet it hit the air like a physical blow. The cafe seemed to lose its color in an instant. The warmth of the afternoon light turned thin and gray. Jack stood up, his chair scraping harshly against the floor. He opened his mouth, searching for the right syntax, the perfect phrase to anchor her in place. He had spent a lifetime collecting words, but every single one of them felt useless. They were hollow, empty vessels that could not hold the weight of what was happening. He looked at her, and she looked back. She turned, pushed the heavy glass door open, and stepped out. The door clicked shut, the sound echoing in the sudden, absolute silence. Jack sat back down. The cafe was empty, the air still, and the street noise outside felt like a distant, irrelevant hum. He opened his notebook to a fresh page. He did not look for a synonym. He did not check his grammar. He began to write, not to build a sentence, but to map the weight of her absence. He realized then that love was not a definition to be found in a dictionary. It was a memory, a physical pull, and a permanent shift in how he viewed the world. He wrote the final line. He spoke English, but she spoke love. He closed the book. The light in the cafe shifted, turning soft and golden against the wood of the table. He sat in the silence, finally understanding that the deepest connections require no words at all. He did not need to speak. He did not need to explain. He simply existed in the quiet, and for the first time, it was enough.